Bon is a Tibetan religious tradition, a sect, being distinct from Buddhist ones in its particular myths, although many of its teachings, terminology and rituals resemble Tibetan Buddhism. It arose in the 11th century and established its scriptures mainly from termas and visions by tertöns such as Loden Nyingpo.Though Bon terma contain myths of Bon existing before the introduction of Buddhism in Tibet. In truth, the old religion was a new religion. Definitions of Bon, as Bon only arose in the 11th century through the work of tertöns. Sam Van Schaik states it is improper to refer to the pre-Buddhist religion of Tibet as Bon, though some people call the old pre-Buddhist religion of Tibet Bon. It is unlikely that before Buddhism the Tibetans had a clear sense of practicing a religion as such, or a specific name for these practices. In fact, the Bonpo religion only started to take shape alongside the revival of Buddhism in the 11th century, and when the scriptures of the Bonpo started to appear in Tibet, it was mainly through the work of tertöns. History. Foundation. 3 Bon scriptures, Mdo Dust Gzr Mig and Gzi Budget, relate the mythos of Tenpa Shenrab Milwache. The Bonpos regard the first two as Gter Ma rediscovered around the 10th and 11th centuries, and the last as Nyan Briud dictated by Loden Nyingpo, who lived in the 14th century. In the 14th century, Loden Nyingpo revealed a terma known as the Brilliance, which contained the story of Tenpa Shenrab. He was not the first Bonpo tertin, but his terma became one of the definitive scriptures of Bon religion. It states that Shenrab established the Bon religion while searching for a horse stolen by a demon. Tradition also tells that he was born in the land of Tasagulmolungring, which is traditionally identified as Mount Yung Drungu Tzeg, possibly Mount Kailash, in western Tibet. Due to the sacredness of Tasagulmolungting and Mount Kailash, the Bonpo regard both the swastika and the number 9 as auspicious and is of great significance. Tenpa Shenrab Milwache visited Kongpo and found people whose practice involved spiritual appeasement with animal sacrifice. He taught them to substitute offerings with symbolic animal forms made from barley flour. He only taught according to the student's capability with lower shamanic vehicles to prepare, until with prayer, diligence, devotion and application they could incarnate to achieve sutra, tantra and dzogchen. Bon teachings feature 9 vehicles, which are pathway teaching categories with distinct characteristics, views, practices and results. Medicine, astrology, and divination are in the lower vehicles, then sutra and tantra, with dzogchen great perfection being the highest. Traditionally, the 9 vehicles are taught in 3 versions, as central, northern and southern treasures. The central treasure is closest to Nyingma 9 Yana's teaching and the northern treasure is lost. Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche elaborated the southern treasure with shamanism. A cavern of treasures. A cavern of treasures is a Bon terma uncovered by Shenchen Luga in the early 11th century. Martin identifies the importance of this scripture for studies of the Zhangzhung language. For students of Tibetan culture in general, the Mdo.Fug is one of the most intriguing of all Bon scriptures, since it is the only lengthy bilingual work in Zhangzhung and Tibetan, 18th century. The Dzunga people invaded Tibet in 1717 and deposed a pretender to the position of Dalai Lama who had been promoted by Lobzang, the titular king of Tibet. This met with widespread approval. However, they soon began to loot the holy places of Lhasa, which brought a swift response from the Kangxi emperor in 1718. But his military expedition was annihilated by the Dzungas not far from Lhasa. Many Nyingmapas and Bonpos were executed, and Tibetans visiting Dzunga officials were forced to stick the tongues out so the Dzungas could tell if the person recited constant mantras, which was said to make the tongue black or brown. This allowed them to pick the Nyingmapas and Bonpos, who recited many magic mantras. A habit of sticking one's tongue out as a mark of respect on greeting someone has remained a Tibetan custom into modern times. 19th century. In the 19th century, Shadza Tashi Gyaltsen, a Bon master whose collected writings comprise 18 volumes, significantly rejuvenated the tradition. His disciple Kagyukung Truljigme Namkha trained many practitioners to be learned in not only the Bon religion, but in all Tibetan schools. According to the Bonpo, 18 enlightened entities will manifest in this eon, and Pashenrab Milwache, the founder of Bon, is considered the enlightened Buddha of this age. The 33rd lineage holder of Menri Monastery, Menri Trizan Lungtog Tenpai Nama and Lopen Tenzin Namdak are important current lineage holders of Bon. More than 300 Bon monasteries had been established in Tibet prior to Chinese annexation. Of these, Menri Monastery and Shurashing Yung Drung Dung Drakling Monastery were the two principal monastic universities for the study and practice of Bon, knowledge and science arts. Geography. Ethnic Tibet is not confined culturally to the Tibet Autonomous Region. The broader area of ethnic Tibet also includes, to the east, parts of the Chinese provinces of Sichuan, Qinghai, Gansu and Yunnan; to the west, the Indian regions of Ladakh, Lahore and Spiti, and the Baltistan region of Pakistan, the extreme northwest of Assam, and to the south Bhutan, Sikkim, and parts of northern Nepal, such as Mustang and Olpo, the regions in northeastern Nepal inhabited by Sherpa and Tamang peoples, and extreme northern Burma. Even parts of modern Bangladesh were once a part of this greater Tibet. Gods. Bonpos cultivate household gods in addition to other deities. Traditionally in Tibet, divine presences or deities would be incorporated into the very construction of the house, making it in effect a castle against the malevolent forces outside it. The average Tibetan house would have a number of houses or seats for the male god that protects the house. Every day the man of the house would invoke this god and burn juniper wood and leaves to placate him. In addition, the woman of the house would also have a protecting deity whose seat could be found within the kitchen, usually at the top of the pole that supported the roof. Another set of deities of the White Old Man, a sky god, and his consort. They are known by a few different names, such as the Gyalpo Pefha, called King Pefha. Pefhan is featured as a protecting deity of Shangshung, the center of the Bon religion. Reportedly, Pefha is related to celestial heavens and the sky in general. In early Buddhist times, Pefha transmogrified into a shamanic bird to adapt to the bird motifs of shamanism. Pefha's consort is a female deity known by one of her names as Duza Minka. Present situation. According to a recent Chinese census, an estimated 10% of Tibetans follow Bon. When Tibet was formally recognized as part of the PRC, there were approximately 300 Bon monasteries in Tibet and the rest of Western China. According to a recent survey, there are 264 active Bon monasteries, convents, and hermitages. The present spiritual head of the Bon is Lungtog Tenpai Nyima, the 33rd abbot of Menri Monastery, who now presides over Palshen Ten Menri Ling in Dolanji in Himachal Pradesh, India, for the abbacy of which monastery he was selected in 1969. A number of Bon establishments also exist in Nepal. Triton Orbitsa Bonpo Monastery is one on the western outskirts of Kathmandu. Bon's leading monastery is the refounded Menri Monastery in Dolanji, Himachal Pradesh, India. Many Bon elements are in the Hangui religion of the Pumi people. Recognition. Lobsang Yesh, recognized as the fifth Panchen Lama by the fifth Dalai Lama, was a member of the Dru family, an important family of the Bon religion. Under Losang Gyatso, Bon became respected both philosophically and politically. However, the Bonpo remained stigmatized and marginalized until 1977, when they sent representatives to Dharamshala and the 14th Dalai Lama, who advised the parliament of the Central Tibetan administration to accept Bon members. Since then, Bon has had official recognition of its status as a religious group with the same rights as the Buddhist schools. This was restated in 1987 by the Dalai Lama, who also forbade discrimination against the Bonpos, stating that it was both undemocratic and self-defeating. He even donned Bon ritual paraphernalia, emphasizing the religious equality of the Bon faith. However, Tibetans still differentiate between Bon and Buddhism, referring to members of the Nyingma, Shakya, Kagyu and Gelug schools as Nangpa, meaning insiders, but to practitioners of Bon as Bonpo, or even Chippa.